Hi, I'm Molly, and I am so excited to welcome you to the first season of the Unapologetically Molly show in podcast. Let me start by saying this. I am no business guru. I am just a regular person who have learned to build six-figure businesses, and now I'm here to share what I've learned, along with the wisdom of some amazing speakers, so that you can thrive in your business too. A little bit about me. I am from Chicago, Illinois, and I am proud mom of 4 beautiful kids who drive me absolutely crazy, but they keep me inspired every single day. At my core, I am an entrepreneur, just like you, with the passion for serving others, making a difference, and living life unapologetically. This season is all about helping you unlock your potential. You'll hear from amazing speakers who have generously shared their valuable and vulnerable stories about building their own six-figure businesses. My hope is that by the end of this season, you'll step into 2025 with confidence, knowing that you can, you will, and that you've already taken the first steps towards transforming your financial future and mindset. Thank you for being here, and I hope you enjoy the show as much as I've enjoyed putting it together for you. Welcome to the Unapologetically Molly show. I'll be your host today, Molly, and today we are meeting 4 amazing men who have unlocked the secrets to success for six-figure businesses. They will be sharing their experiences on how they restructured their mind frame and essentially revolutionized their finances. So we're here with Chad, Avery, Chavez, and Ari, and I'm gonna let them introduce themselves and their vertical of business.
Start this side. Oh,
yeah.
There we go. My name is Ari. Start off with the laugh. That's always the way to go. My name is Ari. I am a motivational speaker and a coach. Super looking forward to having a fantastic conversation. Chad, Avery, and Chevy, we've all been hanging out this morning. You go by Chevy. We've all been hanging out for quite a bit. We've been really interacting, which is super cool. And pass it on to Chavez.
Awesome. So my name is Chavez, but I do go by Chevy. I am in the tech space and real estate space. So I own a tech company. I've been owning it for about 10 years, and I also own a real estate firm.
My name is Avery Baker, and I'm a motivational speaker. I have a company with my father. We go by the Avery and Brian Experience. We've been in business now for almost 7 years. For us, life is all about relationships. So we started off talking about family relationships, naturally as father and son. Now we talk to companies and organizations about cultivating workplace relationships, better workplace relationships that'll lead to more success for the company.
I'm Chad Willett. I'm an author of 2 books, Smash the Box, Rip Off the Rearview Mirror, and also the owner of an acting studio called Broadway 2 LA. And I tell companies I help them smash the box and rip off the rearview mirror in their daily operations.
I love that. I just saw your book earlier, and I'm gonna have to read it for sure. Okay, so we're gonna be talking about mindset and finance today. Today, I would really love to learn more about how you guys have restructured your mind frame and essentially made that leap from, I guess you could say, 5 figures to 6 figures. So I'm gonna start with Chad. I would love to hear more about the smashing the box and kind of how you. Where did your mindset change when you made your first 6 figures in business?
Yeah, that's a great question. For me, I have a notepad every day, which I write down like a to-do list, like things I got to do. And on my notepad on the side, I write down the word attack. And that word, honestly, every day I look at that word attack. And I'm like, the 3 guys, we kind of bonded before the show, like we were sharing stories. But attack for me is huge. It's like I want to attack every day. It's like I only have so much time on this planet, so much window of work before I go home to my family. I want to write my blogs. I want to write my book. I want to do YouTube videos. But I'm like, the last thing I want to do is sit back. And if you talk about wanting 6 figures, you attack. You go after it. And it's an aggressive mindset. I think if you want to make money, you have to have an aggressive mindset. And the opposite is passive. You wait. You let it come. You don't do it.
What about for those people whose mind frame is, I'm going to detach, and then they allow things to come to them? Do you think that works sometimes in business?
I think it's different for everybody. detach, but for me, I don't want to detach. Like I want to attack. I want to go. You know what I mean?
He
Like,
wants to attack.
I want to be part of that. I want to be part of that investment. I want to be part of that project. You know what I mean? I want to be on your show. You know what I mean? Like I don't want to be passive. I don't want to detach. Like I want to own. I think ownership's big to be successful. I want to own it for the successes and failures.
Ari, I know we spoke briefly about your business.
Definitely being proactive is a big thing for me. Chad, I took my daughter to the Art Institute yesterday, and they have a current exhibit of medieval art and armory, including a ton of swords. Is that kind of the thing you're...
Just going to attack him.
No, absolutely. Being proactive is such a huge part of any version of success, right? If we are reactive and kind of waiting around and just detached and just, I hope, right? Like, there's a thing they talk about sometimes, hope chess, right? Making a move and being like, I hope he goes over there. No. You got to sit there and be willing to make the moves that put you into a place to be strategically ready for winning and everything. So absolutely.
Avery, tell me a little bit about the dynamic between you and your father and owning that business. Like, how does that work, making six figures with your fathers?
Yeah, well, for anybody that has a family-owned business, you may know the trials and tribulations that come with that, but for those that don't, it's a balancing act. It's a balancing act because we have to straddle that line of being but also being business partners. And I think that that's evolved our relationship a lot over the years. Now that I'm in my late 20s, I'm no longer just his son, but we're the best of friends. And so as our business continues to evolve and it continues to grow, we do have to continue to check in with each other on a more personal level. It's like, hey, sometimes I need him to take off the dad hat and put on the business partner hat, and vice versa. Sometimes he needs me to put on, the son hat and not the business partner hat, right? And so learning how to balance that has really allowed us to catapult our business.
Interesting. That has to be like a balancing act every day for sure.
Oh, every single day.
Yeah. Okay.
He drives me crazy.
I didn't say it. It was your son that said it. It's live TV here. Chavez, tell me a little bit. Real estate firm, like, oh my God, in tech, How is that going for you?
It's going really well. So I've owned my tech company for about 10 years now. I actually started it in my dorm at Loyola University. I got a call, I recall getting a call from a student at 2 a.m. It was during finals week. And she spilled water on her laptop, and she called me crying because she needed her computer in order to pass the exam for tomorrow. And that was the moment I knew I really had the golden ticket to really figure this thing out. And as I was sharing with Avery earlier, I was the first company on Loyola premises that they actually started supporting and marketing for me, because it's a private school, so they actually don't offer or provide any outside services. And I was the first company that they partner with to do so.
Perfect. So how long did it take you to make that six figures in the tech company versus the real estate vertical?
It was actually the first year I made about 60, 70,000. And then the second year I 3x my revenue and profit. And it opened my mind to the possibilities of expanding the services I offered. So when I first started, I was just strictly a repair company. So I was only repairing devices. And then I started getting partnerships with local schools, Catholic schools, CPS, and that really opened my mind to other possibilities in tech.
I love that.
Thank you.
Avery, tell me a little bit about so we spoke briefly and you started this right before COVID, your business with your dad. So tell me how COVID affected the speaking side of it.
It threw a curveball in everything. All the grandiose plans that we had. To give you a little bit of context, we started the business in 2018. And by 2020, that was going to be our first banner year. I mean, we had 8, maybe 10, but definitely 8 paid speaking events on the calendar. And within the span of about 7 days, they all just went away. right? Now, some people would say, oh, we're just, postponing, but we'll be sure to have it later in the year. Most of those events, they just went away. And so it was really unfortunate. I guess I'll give you a little bit more backstory. I started this business right after I graduated from college, and I still had a couple of side jobs. I was working just to make some income. But it wasn't until the end of 2019 that I decided, you know what, I just need to dive head first into this business. And it was taking up so much of my time. Well, then 3 months after I make that decision, the whole world shuts down, right? And so we had to pivot. We had to be agile in the face of so much uncertainty at that point. And it really started by just embracing what every single person in that moment was going through at that point in time. People were feeling the isolation, people were feeling the uncertainty. And so that's what we started focusing on. We started talking about that as father and son on a personal level, but also just in our business. And that vulnerability really opened up more opportunities for us because people started seeing us on different social media platforms or wherever it was, they started seeing us be vulnerable about some of the challenges that we were dealing with in real time operating a business. And that resonated with a lot of folks.
I love that. So you pivoted your approach.
Yeah.
So your topics changed.
Absolutely.
And resonated more with your audience.
Definitely.
Did you make six figures that year still in COVID?
During the COVID year, admittedly, no. But immediately after, since 2021, our business has catapulted. It's gone through the roof since 2021.
Chavez, tell me about real estate. Where was it? What year did you make your six figures and how did you get there?
So what actually got me to even getting into real estate is when I took a trip to seeing my brother in Switzerland for the first time after like 8 years. And when I was there, my fears was, do we align? Do we share the same mindset as we did when we were kids? Because I haven't seen him in like 8 years. And, when we finally did see each other and he met me at the airport, he gave me a hug and we went home, we talked. The first thing he asked me is, why am I not in real estate? And again, it was very strange. But then I thought to myself, that's true. Why not? Why am I not in real estate? So I got back to America. I decided to, focus strictly on real estate for the next 2 years. And I did that. So within year 2 is when I really started the trajectory upward in real estate. So a lot of my focus has been on helping people purchase and sell their homes. And because I've already had a book of business through my tech business, it made it extremely easy for me to get business in real estate.
Can everybody share kind of what their tactics was when they expanded their business and made their first six figures? Like, share one practical step that you took in order to make that leap.
So for me, it would be mainly, I would say, on the tech side of things. It was me expanding my services. So when I first got into the tech space, again, I mentioned I was strictly just repairs and I was limiting myself to other revenue streams. However, the opportunities of opening and expanding my services just kept coming to me. So I had to eventually figure it out. I can continue to miss out on all this business and focus on the repairs in such a small niche, or I can be open-minded, continue to learn, educate myself in other avenues of the tech space, and then expand, which is what allowed me to do so. So the first 2 years, I did hit the six-figure mark in revenue, but then later on, I started making six figures in profit.
Molly, for me, it's twofold. One, similar to what Chevy said, I always had the acting studio, but then from there, I started doing the motivational speaking. So like 2 different revenue streams. And then for me, upselling. For like our acting studio, we teach acting classes, but now we do headshots. Now we do resume writing, just upselling and leveraging our business and adding more to it.
We had to lose the fear of allowing other people to take over the work for us. Essentially, we had to learn the value in offloading some of our responsibilities. And once we were able to get ourselves to a point mentally where we were like, okay, we need to trust somebody. We need to trust multiple people to do the job that, is near and dear to our heart. that has allowed us it's given us so much more time to focus on content creation, to focus on some of the marketing that we want to use in our business. So my biggest thing is just learn how to offload your responsibilities, save you some time, and over the long haul, it will save you money too.
I love that.
I used a lot of systems and processes. When we do stuff, a lot of times we're doing things that end up being the same thing over and over and over again. And if we don't apply a system to it, then we're kind of like trying to remake up what we're supposed to do every single time. And if we're able to sit there and say, okay, here's the exact system you can do. First of all, you can delegate to new people because you can bring them in and be like, here's a system. All you have to do is do all the steps that I created and do them in order. And then second of all, it allows you to, expand how much you're doing. Another thing that I did is a lot of times I think when speakers start, and Avery and Chad might agree with it or not, but we try to say, this is the city I'm in, so I'll just work here. But there's nothing stopping us from jumping on a plane and going anywhere. And we have the whole world. The whole country becomes open to us at that point. So once I was able to break through that idea of why am I only in one city? Why am I only sticking to here? I can go anywhere. And then start traveling. That's what really broke through for me, is because once you can travel, all I need is a laptop and a good airport,
Yep. Absolutely.
Cool. So it was the expanding of services, the delegation of tasks, and then also the systems and processes that need to be put in place. So for those who have teams, tell me how you built the team in order to serve those processes.
Well, so just jumping back to systems and processes
Yeah.
for a second, if you think about it, one of the business things that people will talk about a lot is, I think, Ray Kroc at McDonald's. Mm-hmm. McDonald's is successful because they start off at the very beginning. I've never worked there, but I'm saying somebody walks in and they watch a video. This is how you flip a burger. You do this, you do exactly this, then you do exactly this 20 seconds later, then you do exactly this 20 seconds later, and everything is so systematized that nobody has to be like, wait, how do I cook a burger? You don't need to know. You literally just watch the thing that told you exactly what to do, exactly when to do it. As far as building my team, I basically I had tried to build a team a number of times and I kind of failed because there was a lot of admin stuff that was not being taken care of. I'm not so good at the admin of it because I'm a little bit more creative and some other stuff like that. So the last time I sat there and said, I am going to find an administrator first, and then I'll bring people in. And so she sits there and handles a lot of the administrative tasks. She handles a lot of the back end stuff and we have to do this for our people. We have to do this for the HR type of thing. We have to, and so she's really on top of all that. And that's what's enabled me to do it successfully this time.
I love that. I think as entrepreneurs, when we're building businesses, we miss the fact that we do have to interact with one another, but then sometimes people need to be communicated in a way where it breaks everything down to like bite-sized pieces, and then we can then kind of soar in our processes. So tell me, if you guys can tell me, what was a time where there was just everything was breaking down? I think as a business owner, I feel like there are seasons of the year that I have to put out fires. And tell me about a time you had to put out a fire and it didn't seem like it was going to go away, right? The customer was probably complaining or the associate probably, whatever. Tell me how you overcame that, mind-wise first, and then action after. Chavez, let's start with you.
I was like thinking about the challenges I had to overcome. I would have to say when I first partnered with a telecommunication company, Verizon Wireless, I went from one physical location to 13 within a couple of months.
Wow, 13.
Yes. I mean, we're talking 3 months. I had 13 locations within their infrastructure, and it was a lot to juggle. I wasn't used to managing and having so many employees, so many staff, and it came with many challenges because they weren't directly hired by me. They were already hired within Verizon. So I'm coming in, they now have to listen to me and take, advice and direction from me. But then there was a conflict of interest there. And it was because their job was to sell phones. My job was to repair them. So many obstacles and challenges faced there, especially growing and expanding too fast, that the best way to move forward was to scale back. And my business partners at Verizon didn't agree with that method, but I said, this is the only way that we'll be able to continue to move forward positively, because we're stretched too thin. We don't even have systems and processes in place yet that the ship's is gonna like sink. So then we scaled back, we slowed down. I created a system, a process, and then we're able to scale back up.
I love that. How about you, Avery?
I think I'll take you back to 2020 again, and when the whole world transitioned to virtual mediums. And as a motivational speaker, there was this big push for virtual motivation, right? Well, everybody started using Zoom, GoToMeeting, all these different interfaces. And I always remember we had an event that got shifted to virtual in April of 2020. So this is all very new. We hadn't used Zoom before. Many of the people at the conference hadn't used Zoom before, but that's the platform that the conference was being hosted on. And so we had a decision to make. We could either sit there and do the presentation live, or we could pre-record the presentation, showcase that, sit on the Zoom chat and interact with people as the presentation is going. And I thought about this because I put myself in the shoe of the audience member. And I told my dad, I'm like, look, people are gonna be on their computers. Again, gotta take you back. Like, this is brand new. Like, Zoom was not readily used as it is today. So I'm telling my dad, like, people have the internet at their fingertips. If we don't captivate them immediately, then we've lost them. And they're gonna be checking Facebook, they're gonna be on Amazon, they're gonna be surfing the web, they're gonna be doing whatever they want, not paying attention to us. And so putting myself in the audience member's shoe allowed me to think, okay, let's pre-record this and let's continue to engage with people in the chat throughout the presentation so that it gave off the appearance that, wow, these dudes they're doing multiple things at once. And some people really thought that we were actually doing the presentation live. They had no idea that it was a pre-recording. And that's just a testament to how quickly we pivoted and just being able to put yourself, I think that's like a basic entrepreneurial principle is we're problem solvers, right? Like we see a solution to a problem and we put ourselves in the shoes of the clientele. And we're like, this would make their life easier. And so just kind of honing in on that really helped us make that event. And then moving forward, that's kind of what propelled us to stand out amongst the crowd, amongst a lot of other speakers that were still trying to navigate new platforms. And sometimes their internet connection was a little choppy. And we didn't have to do any of that because we sat down in the studio like we're doing right now and we recorded it. And we made sure that we did it so perfectly that, people weren't concerned about the production of it. They were more concerned about, okay, what's the content that these dudes are delivering? Mm-hmm. So that's my example.
I love that. How about?
For me, yeah. Well, you guys know I'm big on words, attack. And my mindset shift was when I first started doing speaking. Ari, all you guys on stage now. And when I first started out, I may have had 20 people in the audience, 25, small groups. And I do an hour keynote. In the last 10 minutes, I do a Q&A. And early on during those Q&As, I would have people ask random questions. People want to challenge me on my authenticity or the topic matter. And I remember I would let that question, it'd hijack the whole talk. I would give that person so much power. And what I learned only stepping back, I'm like, be careful who you give your power to. And it was a hard lesson, but another speaker actually gave me that advice. And from that point on, I'm like, never. Now I feel very blessed. I can do a keynote, 500 people. Never will that one or two people. We all know there's going to be a couple who don't agree with the message, don't agree with the theme. Never will I let that one or two person hijack a conversation, give them the power. I'm like, because there's so many people that want it, they want to hear it. And then, when you give those one or two people power, the other 400, 498, they suffer. So giving away power, it's a huge shift for me.
Okay. Yeah, definitely. I think we can all attest to, even when you're in business, you kind of get those even difficult clients that communication is everything when you're trying to solve a problem for them. And I think for me, even in my business, I've been trying to kind of forego that ego that's like you want to defend your business. But sometimes in order to elevate your business, you have to take the right approach and the right communication, even like how you word things, in order to not put them in the defense mode. And then once I learned that, my business literally went to 6 figures within the first few months. So I think if we were to break it down for those entrepreneurs who are kind of in that area where they don't know if it's going to work, but they do have this passion. They have people telling them, oh, you're not going to make 6 figures, right? Or like our thing was, as a designer, it's like, you're a starving artist. But I was like, well, you needed us artists during the COVID. How would you survive? You know? But I say that it's just a funny joke. But in any case, can you tell me how you shifted that mind frame when someone did tell you your passion is not going to yield you those 6 figures?
Everybody wants to tell you what you can't do. And they will never stop telling you what you can't do, even when you're, I mean, think about it. People tell Elon Musk all the time, you can't do this and you can't do that. And he's like, yeah, thanks a lot for your opinion. Shove it. So we can never allow people to really tell us what we can and can't do. And it's really important that we're able to sometimes fend off those comments. Just, you know, we were just talking about like difficult customers and stuff. One of the most powerful things that I found, every once in a while when you do have a difficult customer, from the marketing business that I had previously, it's really, really amazing. You sit there and you say to them, listen, you know, obviously you're not happy right now. What is a reasonable resolution to what we're dealing with right now? What would you consider to be a reasonable resolution? If it's reasonable, I'll do it. You just tell me. Because now the ball's in their court. And they're like, oh, they can't complain anymore because you're like, yeah, I agree with you. You know, so you're diminishing a lot of the stuff that you're dealing with. You're like, I just want to make you happy. Like anything that you say that's a reasonable resolution to what we're talking about, we'll just make it happen. And so, you know, that's when people are telling you that you can't do something, that's when you have to really like grab hold on what you know to be true deep inside. Mm-hmm. And that's why, you know, there's that old story, like what they say, right? If you're ever going to war, right? Burn the boats.
Burn the boats.
Burn the boats, right? You land on the shore, you get off the boats, it's time to go to war. If you leave the boats there, the people who are fighting, the people who are attacking are not going to necessarily
get into
it because they're like, worst case scenario, we'll just go back to the boats and go back home. Yeah. If you burn the boats, you're like, guys, there is no going home. We are here and we must take that city. That's when you sit there and you get people putting their all into it. And obviously the people sitting here have done that, right? Yep. I mean, you know, Avery was saying that he sat there and he made the decision right going into COVID, I'm just doing speaking. I did the exact same thing. And it fell apart for me, right? COVID, same thing, right? That a week, like canceled. Boom, wait, what just happened to my business? All right, time to pivot. But the more that we're like, this is what we're doing and there's no other option. Well, what's your plans if this doesn't work? I don't have plans for this if this doesn't work because it is going to work, right? That's how we can make sure to put our best foot forward and really make sure that it happens.
Hey, Molly, those people who tell you that, they're the ones who don't do it. They're the ones who won't take the risk.
Yep.
He who says it cannot be done or she who says it cannot be done should not interrupt the one doing it.
Think about this. It's the source. They're the ones who aren't doing it.
That's right.
I love that. Chavez.
Yeah. Well, I am one to not allow anyone to project their fears onto me in general, because I did hear it a lot growing up, just given the circumstances I had as a kid in my youth. But I give a lot of credit to just surrounding yourself around positive-minded people, you know? So I'm no longer around people that will tell me that I can't and cannot do anything.
Was that a conscious decision that was intentional?
Absolutely.
How did you align with the right people?
Energy. Energy. It's all about the energy you bring, the energy you carry. And I mean, just like the people in this room right now, you know, we're all go-getters and we're all striving for greatness in some retrospect in any aspect of our lives. right? No one here is saying, hey, you can't do this or you can't do that. We're all encouraging each other to do this and do that. So it's about, putting into the universe what you truly want and desire and getting it when it comes.
Mm-hmm. So do you have more of a detachment approach instead of an attack approach?
No. I am one to plan, set goals, and execute. So I am more like Chad. I am very aggressive with my attack. But I would say I'm in a better space in life now where I'm more focused on my time and getting my time back. I've done putting in 15, 20 hours a day in my business.
Okay, so if you guys had to restart today, where would you start? Like 6 figures within the next, I'm gonna say 6 months. Could you do it? And where would you start?
Yeah.
Avery.
So as a speaker, I'll say first place to start, website. Develop a bomb website, because as a motivational speaker, as a professional speaker, that is the first thing that somebody is going to want to see. They're going to want to see your website, and then on that website, they're going to want to see videos of you speaking. They want to see you in action. They want to hear your message. They want to get a taste of what it's like to be in the audience for your presentation. So for me, I would start, build a website, build a great website, as best of a website as you can, and then get footage of you speaking. First 2 things right then and there. Once you get that, then it's about getting in front of audiences. So there's multiple ways you could do that. My dad and I, we approached it by, we wanted to get in front of as many audiences as possible. So we were speaking pro bono at conferences all over the country. To your point, once we broke out of that mindset of, okay, we were California based at the time, so we got to stick to the West Coast. No. So we broke out. We started speaking in Florida, Ohio, all over the country.
And you were funding the trips for pro bono?
We were.
So it was like a personal investment.
It was.
That sounds like a huge personal investment.
It's a huge investment.
Guys got free miles.
Need that. Well,
this is not a sponsored television.
Right.
Although we wish one day. But okay, so that investment, do you think that investment helped you, like even helped, as we say, God or the universe push you forward? Because I think a lot of times if we don't take that first step, then the universe can't or God cannot get the ball rolling for you.
Yeah.
So.
Absolutely. You got to put yourself in the environment that forces you to put up or shut up. It forces you to, for lack of a better term, I'm not going to use that analogy, but it forces you, like you said, when you're backed into the corner, you got no other options. And that's how it feels for me, at least when I'm up on that stage. Once I hit that stage, there's no doubting. There's no second guessing of where I am or what I'm supposed to be doing in that moment. I'm just all in on that. And so that's kind of the mentality that has to form, as an entrepreneur. Like you were saying, Ari, there's no plan B. You got to develop a sense of this is where we're at and this is what we're focused on, and nothing else, business-wise, career-wise matters right now.
A good analogy for it, I just realized, think about how people go into a pool that feels a little cold. 1 toe at a time, slowly, it's torture.
Yeah.
You jump in, that's it. That's all right. 2 minutes later, I'm good. Let's go. But it feels cold, but not after you get used to it. But you gotta dive headfirst sometimes into these things and make sure that you're doing it with everything. Otherwise you're never putting 100% into it.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
Do you agree with the speaking vertical?
I do. I think Avery's right on it. I do. And I think one thing I'd add to that is a niche. Finding your niche. I think entrepreneurs want to do everything. They want to be on Instagram and Facebook and be communication, leadership. I think the riches is in niches. For me, when I specialize in innovation, smashing the box, thinking out of the box, that's when my figures, skyrocketed. And I've noticed the more you dial in and the more focused you become and specialized, the more successful you are. And if you think about a surgeon or, someone who's very specialized, all they do is brain surgery day in, day out. They're making millions of dollars. And I think that's what many entrepreneurs miss. They want to cover everything instead of specialize or have a niche.
Mm. So you linked in more into your purpose, is what you say. And Avery, you just kind of invested in yourself first, and then people started investing in you later.
Is that correct?
Yeah, we found that our best form of marketing is when people see us on stage together. And when they see us on stage together, in that very moment, they're inclined to buy our products, they're inclined to book us for future events, they're inclined to just inquire more. They want to get to know us more, and that's how we found ourselves to be most successful.
Perfect. Ari, tell me, if building the business from scratch, how would you quickly monetize it after your actions?
In general, should we shift to...
Yeah, let's do a general business.
Awesome.
Go.
So one of the most important things, there's two major components to any business. The one is business development, AKA sales. If you're not willing to make the sales, you better have somebody who's willing to make those sales. And number two is being able to actually give or create an effective product or service. So, talking back to what Avery was saying, Avery sat there and did it by going back and saying, I'm going to get experience, I'm going to get it right now. And they did that. If you don't necessarily have the experience, then put yourself into those environments where you can get the experience. But if you're trying to do it in 6 months, sometimes you just sit there and be like, yeah, of course I can do this. And learn on the job, right? And if you're not the type of person who could just learn while you're doing it, then maybe you should be getting a job. So don't let it be me to tell you not to do it, but become that person,
Yeah.
right? That's the real thing.
There's nothing wrong with a 9 to 5.
A lot of us think that we can't do things, but if you sit there and be like, no, I'm gonna do it because I have to do it. That's when you sit there and get into that place. And then the sales part of it, the business development part of it, is you need to figure out, so a sales funnel, right? A lot of people talk about the funnel, the lead funnel, but forget about that for a second. The sales funnel concept is that you basically have a bunch of stages of a sale, and every business is a little bit different, but you have a bunch of stages for a sale. And whatever your numbers look like, maybe it's 100 at this stage, and 80 at this stage, and then 60 at this stage, and every single stage you lose people. That's normal. It's okay. Oh my gosh, they said no. Yes, people are gonna say no. It's part of the process. But you gotta first of all build your funnel. Like, what are my 5 stages or 8 stages or 3 stages of my sales process? And then you got to figure out how to get more people at the beginning, because it's all numbers at some point. At some point, once you know what your funnel is and your process is, if you're putting 100 people in the funnel, you might only get 1 person on the other end. But if you put 1,000 people in, now you're getting 10 people on the other end, and that's how you can build a business, right? What's your average sale like? I'm talking about average sales are much larger, so that's why I'm talking 10 people on the other end. But if your average sale is $50, right? Maybe you need to be putting in 10,000 people on one side and be getting out, 500 on the other side. But the numbers all can be different. But you got to figure out how to get people. You got to figure out what your sales process looks like, and then figure out how to get people in at the beginning, and then feed them through the funnel. And there are people going to be dropping off at every single stage. That's part of sales. But the main thing is that as they're dropping off, somebody else is moving forward. And as you have the people moving forward, that's where people are like, yes, where do I sign? Boom, that's it. Let's go.
The conversion rate, for sure.
Yeah, the conversion, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, no, you nailed it. You absolutely nailed it. A huge part of it too is your marketing strategy. It's really about, like you said, it's the numbers game. You could be a high ticketed business, or you could be, a medium or small ticketing business, but it truly depends on how many people you touch and how many people are aware of the services that you offer.
Mm-hmm. I like that. I think when we're marketing, and I think as an entrepreneur, when you start, you're spending all this money in marketing and sales, and since you don't see that conversion within a certain time frame, it's kind of discouraging. But once you get that, one of the pivoting points was you don't need a lot of customers to make 6 figures. You could have 5 really good customers, and you could be completely on your own with no team and still make 6 figures.
I know a guy who got a consulting contract with Northrop Grumman, and they were his only customer, and he had a very healthy business, right? And then just constant. That's what it was. Malcolm Gladwell. You ever read his book, The Tipping Point? There are these things that don't look like they have any effect and any effect and any effect and any effect, and then they hit that tipping point. It's different everywhere, but they hit that tipping point, and boom, everything happens. Yep. Right? So people are like, oh, he was an overnight success. She became famous overnight. And you're like, you didn't see all the stuff that happened beforehand. You didn't see the late nights. You didn't see all that time they put in. You didn't see all those free flights that they sat there and sponsored. All these things that happened in the background, you didn't see any of it. And you're like, oh, overnight success. No. They put in a bunch of work, and they kept on going. They kept on building. They got to a tipping point, and boom, everything started happening then.
I think for an entrepreneur, if people ask me if I went back to college and had a new major, I was a theater major, which I probably would change. But if I had a new major, and Chevy hit it, marketing. I just think for a successful entrepreneur, I don't know how an entrepreneur could be successful without being a successful marketer or hiring an effective marketer. If I had one major back in college, I would have done marketing. I would have majored, at least minored, if not majored in marketing.
And I think a big part of marketing ourselves, it's an intangible, but it's the confidence that we have in ourselves. And when you can develop that confidence to go into any room, it doesn't matter what the room, who's in that room, and you can begin to talk about what it is that you do without stuttering, then you know that you've reached a point, you've reached a level of confidence in your work, in your craft, in your business, whatever it is, that now you can go out like what you're talking about and market yourself. And that's not all the marketing that needs to be done, but that's a huge part of it as an entrepreneur. You got to be able to sell yourself. We're all in the sales business. We're all in the people business, and we're selling our products, our ideas, everything that represents us. We're selling that. And, I'll speak for myself. That took a long time for me to get there. I feel like I started kind of as a young entrepreneur at 21 years old. It took a while for me to get to the point where I can walk into any room and confidently talk about what it is that my dad and I talk about, which is relationships. But everybody's process is different. Everybody's journey is different.
Yeah. I think we all have a stage where it's probably more of time for you to make this step versus it's evolution versus, hey, if you just make this pivot, you could do it immediately. Sometimes people's brains, I know for me, my brain needs to catch up with how to interact with a customer, right? And how to change my approach based on their personality. Because some customers you naturally click with, right? And then some customers you have to take a very strategic approach, legality-wise, especially if you guys have any legal issues in business, right? So as a business owner, tell me about a time where you had a difficult customer and you turned that situation around and you shattered their expectations. Ari, you want to go first?
Sure, I can go first. So, one particular customer that comes to mind is, so I have a promo video online that talks about failure is a pathway to success. At the time when this customer was talking to me, I did not have any such keynote. I just had a promo. I was talking about stuff, and that was the promo video I was using. So they called me up after they hired me, and only a few weeks away from the gig, and they're like, "We want your keynote, failure is a pathway to success." I was like, "Amazing. I don't have any such thing. You bought this keynote. This is what we're going to do, hopefully, right?" And I started explaining all the parts of it that were really nice. And they're like, "No, we want that other one." And I'm like, "But there is no one." And so it was a little bit of a discussion. And at some point I was like, no, it's not that they're saying maybe that would be a better one. And then I could say, no, there is no such thing. Therefore, we're not doing it. They were saying, we don't really care. This is what we want. Done. End of story. So I just pivoted. And I said, no problem. We're going to create one because I don't want to have an upset customer, nothing of the sort. So how can we go ahead and do this? So I sat there and just, put together a whole keynote that was specifically focused on exactly what they wanted. And then I came in, I delivered it, shattered their expectations and everything. Did you want to talk about other types of shattering at the moment or not? Not really, because I know we were talking about different things and the preparations and everything. We can do that later if you want. No, we don't need to do that now.
Go for it, Ari.
But I need a volunteer. I need somebody who's willing to shatter expectations. Anybody?
Okay, what do you need me to do?
Yeah?
The attack guy is
yes
going
before you know what you
to
need to do, or do you want to just say yes?
shatter your expectations. You set yourself up for that.
Anybody willing to shatter some expectations?
Karate or something?
Karate, yeah.
It's been a long time.
You used to do it
Yeah, growing up.
before?
No.
Okay, so have you broken a board before?
No.
Would you be willing to?
Absolutely, let's do it.
Cool, let's go. I've coached a guy on stage before. You ready? Thinking about directions and everything. Okay, so basically what we're going to do is first, let's start with, one foot in front of the other.
There's a process.
Are you lefty or righty?
I'm right.
Righty. So let's do the left foot forward. And we're going to put our right hand behind, right? And up here. And it's much more comfortable to do it with an open fist. So you want to hit with this part of your fist.
Okay.
Okay? So it's back here. And
Yep.
you're going to kind of just shift your hips forward and come like that.
Okay.
So good. So now, can you just come and hit my hand? Nice. And you see how you just connected with this part?
Yep.
One more time. Boom, yeah, like lots of strength behind it. Boom, yeah, there we go. All right. So basically what's gonna happen is like this, right? We've got the board, shattering expectations. I don't want to stand in front of Molly or anything. So are we good over here?
I'm gonna break
Good over
the
here, okay.
braids.
Yeah?
Yep, let's
We
do
good?
it.
Okay, so what we're gonna do, I'll stand off to the side. So what we're gonna do, you're not aiming at the board.
Okay.
In business, would you ever aim at a goal?
Yes.
Or would you aim at a stretch goal and hope that you hit it's anywhere between your goal and your stretch?
Stretch goal, hoping I hit between the goal and the
Same idea. We do not want to aim at the board. Where you're going to be aiming at is you're going to be aiming at me. So come sit up right in front of me if you don't mind.
Okay.
Come a little bit closer so Molly's not blocked. And then go ahead, same thing, left foot forward.
Yep.
And get back into your position and come at me like this again. Nice. So now I would keep the front forward, the front leg bent, back leg straight. And you want to be able to put those hips into it.
Yep.
Yeah? Yes, beautiful. Now don't try to break it yet, but just come at the board a little bit. Don't go fast. Just pretend like you're like that. Now, when you're aiming for it, I'm gonna come a little bit closer. When you're aiming here. Forget the board.
Okay.
The board does not exist.
Okay.
You're aiming right here. The goal is to just go
Here.
straight through the board.
Okay.
Right to me. Well, not yet, but tell me when you're ready.
So to go now.
Whenever, are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
Go straight through. There we go.
Let's do
How'd that
it.
feel?
Felt amazing.
All right.
Shattered.
Shatter. Just got to go straight through it and make sure it happens.
It definitely feels like, that one difficult customer.
Hey, Molly, on the difficult cut.
Yeah, definitely the board is a difficult customer.
For me, and we all have difficult customers, I can name a ton of them, throughout my speaking career, but it's having fierce conversations. I think it's really important. What I've noticed when customers want more and more and more for not a bigger price, it's having that difficult conversation. It's like, you want to add on X, Y, and Z? Well, my speaking business is worth that, so you're going to raise it by $2,000, $5,000, whatever that number is. But I think so many people are scared to have fierce conversations. They just give it away. They just go with the flow. They just want to appease the customer. Mm-hmm. And without that ability to have that difficult, fierce conversation, whatever it might be, it's different for all of us, right? But whatever that fierce conversation is, to me, those are the breakthroughs. That's when you go from 5,000 to 20,000 or whatever. You go from 10,000 to 100. But a lot of people, I think, they don't like confrontation, and they don't want to have those conversations, so they avoid it. But you talk about when you avoid, you lose out on a lot of money.
I think that goes back to Ari's process and procedures. It's kind of setting that client's expectations. And then when they do come back for more, having the self-worth enough to say, hey, this is what it's going to cost. Mm-hmm. But knowing that, you're owed it, you value yourself that much too.
That's right. Exactly.
It's also about remembering that everything is a negotiation. So you say, I want this, the customer says, I want this, and you're like, well, I need more money. Well, there might be a space in the middle that you might be able to come to that might work for everybody. So everything's a negotiation and everything's a conversation. And the people who feel like it's not a negotiation or they're not willing to have that conversation, everybody loses out from that, right? Because if we can all come to the table and say, here's what we're trying to accomplish, how can we do it together? A lot of people feel like we need to combat customers. You'll hear some old school salespeople be like, I got that guy. But it's not about getting, it's about working together to achieve that common goal, right?
Absolutely. And you really don't know how much more business you can get from that customer when you do end up negotiating and not being closed-minded and just letting the customer just walk out the door.
Yeah. I've had customers where I wouldn't get their business, but they referred me to another client. And the referral system is it's crazy, where marketing cannot touch the referral, the one-to-one. All the money you would spend on Google, Facebook does not beat that human interaction and making sure that you're, servicing that customer. So in the beginning, it was, I don't know if I can do this or if I have the bandwidth to do it. What are some practical steps that you guys have taken to fight those thoughts?
Well, for me, I would say it stemmed from self-love, right? So I had to pour more into myself in order to pour into others. So once my cup was full, I was then able to, pour into others and then continue to recharge myself as needed. But loving myself enough to know that I'm worthy of everything that I truly desire and worked for is key to everything.
For me, it's along your question. It's a great question. It's planning. To me, I get up at six in the morning. I'm a morning guy. I'm in the office by 7 a.m. And I know I have from 7 to 4 because I go home and I'm with my wife and daughter and family and life. But I'm like from 7 to 4, I'm like, I do priorities 1 through 5 between 7 and noon when I'm sharpest. That to me is the most important thing for an entrepreneur. It's just prioritize his or her time because it gets away, and to me, the less distractions you have during the day, the less time you're, wasting it on social media. Like if you're just looking, you're not doing work, you're just looking at it. I'm like, if you prioritize your time and maximize each day, it's like building blocks. Just then great things start to happen. I think for so many entrepreneurs, they don't know how to prioritize their time or what they need to do each day.
That's true. That's really true. I kind of want to piggyback on what Chavez said is develop a strong sense of self. I think that's so crucial. And it is self-love, but it goes beyond the self-love. It's about knowing your intrinsic motivations. What do you value? What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses so you can prioritize your time better? And you may be able to focus on those strengths while you delegate those weaknesses. But none of that is possible unless you develop a strong sense of self. And one of the activities that my dad and I lead audiences through is called Who Are You? And it's a 2-person activity where we get audience members to interact with each other. And they simply ask each other the question, who are you? And when you give the other person time to respond, you follow back up. Who are you? And it just keeps going back and forth like that. And it's an unnerving exercise for a lot of people because too many of us are in tune with ourselves to that degree. A lot of people, they're able to answer some of the superficial things. Okay, well, I'm a mother, I'm a father, I'm a son. But then when you keep asking them that, and you keep digging, then they start to really question, well, who am I? And that's just one practical way that, we share this with audience members, but as entrepreneurs, as people that are devoting our lives to our craft or our business, we have to be in tune and develop a strong sense of self because ultimately that's going to help guide us. It's going to give us the foundation for our decision making. It's going to give us the foundation for those moments when we're struggling, those moments when we don't want to work, but we need to tap into some motivation somehow. Knowing how to put yourself in that space so that you can keep going and keep going. I think that's the first step for any entrepreneur.
Oh, 100%. And so, going off of some of the stuff that you're talking about, right? So first of all, persistence, right? Persistence is so crucial, right? So, I developed something called the 5 keys to greatness. The 5th one of them is tenacity, persistence. You've got to be willing to sit there and continue and see things through. But, and this is fascinating, right? But you also have to be able to see when you shouldn't see things through. Right? I started a project for my business and I was doing it and I realized it was off brand. It wasn't working. It wasn't furthering my business. So I had to make the hard decision to sit there and say no to that project and move on to something else. But there's other things that I've worked on and that everybody's worked on that you're like, so many people like we were talking about before, don't do it. You can't do it. All these things coming in saying no, but you're like, no, this is something that has to be done. This is something that absolutely must be done. And that's how you kind of have to channel that tenacity and that persistence to make sure that it can get done. And it's interesting, you talked about that exercise that y'all do on the stage. Who are you? No, but who are you? No, but who are you, right? 100% we have to know who we are, but it calls to mind one of the core coaching techniques, which is the 6 or 7 whys. Yeah, well, why do you think that's true? Yeah, but why? Yeah, but why, right? And this is actually something you can do with yourself. And whenever you have a belief or whenever you have a direction you think you should go in, if you question yourself why and you try and come up with an answer, but then you ask again and you try and come up with a deeper answer, you start peeling back those layers of the onion and you start to get to what's really on the inside. And that's where the gold lies, right? That's where the most important things are.
And that's often where you'll find, like you mentioned earlier, your niche is when you keep digging into that why. Why is this important? Why does this matter to somebody? Why would somebody want to hear what I have to say? You keep asking yourself that, you'll realize, you'll get to your answer. Like you said, the gold is at the middle of the onion right there. But yeah, it's powerful. It's powerful when you can get people, or when individuals get to that space of reflection and get to that space of self-discovery, mental clarity. All of that I think is vital to the success in our businesses.
Tell me about a pattern or a way of thinking that really hindered you in the beginning, like of your business?
I'll go first if you want. I wouldn't say it's limited to the beginning. There's patterns of thought that are negative that we all have, and obviously we want to stay in that positive frame of mind. That's where we do best. That's where our best and most expansive results come from. But it's hard to stay there all the time, right? It's a struggle that we deal with all the time. So up on stage, a lot of times I'll talk about positivity and negativity. If you think about negativity, what it does to a person, it really it diminishes the size of their physical self in addition to their emotional and mental. But it really just sucks people into like a tiny little thing. And so the more that we can kind of keep away from that pattern of thoughts of like, oh, everybody's out to get me and all this things are bad and this is bad because of this and this is bad because of this and this is holding me back because of this, and get into that more expansive, more positive mindset where we're focused on, the whole world is in front of me, right? There's billions of dollars being made every single day. There's billions of people out there who are looking for something like what I'm selling, right? The pie is huge, right? I just need my small little piece of it, right? The pie is so big that like even my small piece of the pie is plenty. And there's so much to go around. And then we can get out of that, my competitor sat there and undercut me, but I gotta, I'll get him back. No, that's not gonna get you anywhere good. That's gonna do the worst possible thing for you. You gotta sit in that positive place where you know that there is so much abundance in the world and so much potential waiting for us, and that so much is there waiting for us to kind of reach out and grab it.
I think for me, to answer your question, is toxic fear. And for me, early on, and for me, toxic fear is like when you need someone's approval or someone to like validate you as an entrepreneur or business owner or speaker. And when I shifted that mindset, like, it never disrespectful. It's like, but I don't need anyone. I don't need, for me, the only one is God and up above. I'm a man of faith. Like that's the only approval I need. But that's a huge mind shift. Like when you present, you don't need X, Y, and Z to give you applause. Like I don't need that. It's fine. I'm grateful for it, but I don't need it. And in the word with it, it's free. You're free to present how you want, to run a business how you want, to design how you want. When you're not crippled by someone's approval, that's toxic. And a lot of people they don't know it, but they're just bound. They X, Y, and Z. That employer, right? That's their one. That's how they made their bread and butter. They're bound to that person. But yeah, when you don't need approval, that toxic fear, like when you get rid of it as an entrepreneur, you're free.
How do you guys manage the difference between your intuition and your fear when you're building your business? Because sometimes there could be a thought and you may think, I'm only doing this because I'm afraid, but your intuition is still saying you should do it.
I would say for me, it's calculated decisions, right? So early on, my fears was just the unknown and failing in general, right? But at that time, I didn't really truly know what being a failure really was. I just was afraid to fail. And I shifted my mindset, and now I actually try to fail as much as possible to finally then succeed, right? So you have to continue to fail in order to be successful in any, regards to any discipline that you do in life.
When I had an epiphany some time ago that when we're afraid, that doesn't, that's our knee-jerk reaction of like, oh, it's too much for me. I shouldn't do this. But if you think about where growth comes from being afraid, being challenged, and seeing it through to the other side. So now, anytime I come across something and I'm like, I don't know if I should do it, I'm a little bit afraid, I'm like, actually, now I have to do it. And just a case in point, I was by a water park and there was a slide and I was like, that's probably going to be a little too spinny, a little too fast, and I'm not really sure. And I'm like, maybe it's a little bit too much for me. I was like, oh, now I have to do it. I did it. I didn't love it, but I was like, okay, so now I did it. Now I don't have to do it again, right? But like, if we're afraid of something, maybe that's a good moment to sit there and give ourselves that challenge to grow so we know what's on the other side of that. Like, I'm an alumnus of Outward Bound. The founder of Outward Bound said that there's more to us than we know. If we can be made to see it, perhaps for the rest of our lives, we'll be unwilling to settle for anything less. When we see the power that we have inside to step up to challenges, to step up to struggles, and to show just what we're made of, that's where so much becomes possible. And that's why can't let fear hold you back.
Absolutely.
Right. I feel like, in part, for me personally, I get to this point where I start to ask myself, what's the worst that can happen? Like I've spent years building a business and making decisions that have been, positive decisions. So I'm not just going to throw that all away. But I then start to get to the point where I'm like, what's the worst that can happen? Okay, well, we go down this avenue and it's not successful. But now at least we know it's not successful. Like the knowledge of knowing I think Chevy, you were talking about like you go through failures so that you can, so that the truth can be revealed essentially, or so that you can learn from those failures. And I think that's the biggest shift in mindset, in your mindset, is getting away from the fear of failing and shifting to failure is a tool. Failure is a tool that I can use in my tool belt that'll catapult me to success. And everybody's journey to that point is different, because some failures are bigger than others. And that's a fact of the reality, right? But you can still learn. You can learn something from each interaction that you have with somebody, even if it's, something that you shouldn't do. Learning what not to do is still better than not learning at all, in my opinion.
I think your big breakthrough, your biggest deal, your biggest client is going to come from an instinct. I don't think it's on a spreadsheet. I don't think it's a metric. I think it's your gut.
Yeah.
A lot of people won't act on that gut, but that's where the breakthrough is.
Yeah.
I love that. And I also love what Avery said, that failure is a tool, as if we could use it to navigate which way we should go in business, and not use it as I've basically, you guys could have invested all that money and not reaped any rewards, but because you had the faith to go do it, it wasn't. And I think sometimes taking that leap of faith is all God or the universe has to see in order to kind of, deliver you a horse to keep you going. So I love that. So this is the time that we're going to ask the big question for every one of you. What are you unapologetic for?
I'm unapologetic for truly my optimistic and opportunistic outlook on life. And I think that rubs people the wrong way sometimes, because there's been times in my life where people, they doubt me. They'll say, oh, you're pie in the sky. You this glass half full mentality that you have is just for show, it's fake. And for me, that's part of my core. I can't move through life without seeing the glass half full, without seeing opportunities, even in the most dire circumstances, right? I take it back to what I shared a little bit ago about during that pandemic time frame where all of our paid speaking gigs got wiped off the calendar. And it was real easy for me at that point in time to doubt myself, to say, dude, you made the wrong decision, jumping into this business, you're not prepared for this, or, you're going to run through all your savings, all of that, right? But everybody has to have that switch. And for me, that switch is, all right, let me see the opportunities available in this ever-changing, chaotic, uncertain space. There's opportunity here. People still need support. People still want to hear positive messages. I mean, even more so in that point in time, they want to hear positive messages. So I'm unapologetic for the way that I view life, as there's an opportunity at every corner. There's an opportunity to meet somebody who might change your life each and every day. That's truly what I feel like. And I'm not ever going to change that.
Wow, I love that, man. I am unapologetic for the time invested into myself, the sacrifices that I took to get to where I'm at today, and the energy that I bring into the universe. I'm extremely proud of the man I am and I became through all the hurdles and the obstacles that I faced in life. I wouldn't, wish it upon any kid to go through what I had to go through, but I am unapologetic for just continuing to invest in my health, my energy, my family, and striving to make the world a better place one day at a time.
That's awesome. Yeah, so for me, I'm unapologetic about being headstrong and relentlessly pursuing my goals. It's there, like we've said it a few times. There's so many people out there who are going to tell you that you can't do it. Can't listen to them. There's so many people out there who are going to tell you it can't be done. They're not the people who are doing it. That you shouldn't be listening to them. Avery, you were just saying, like, a lot of people, they're going to, be reasonable. No, you take that reasonable and you shove it right out the door. I don't want to hear it. That is not where I want to be. I want to be where I am relentlessly going towards my goals, where I'm so just, shut everything out, maybe pick up an old one like 3 Days Grace, Headstrong. So just get, pump yourself up, get that energy and be like, nothing matters except for just making sure that I get this done.
Yeah. Love that.
Yeah, I'm unapologetic for living a life with no regrets. I graduated University of Kentucky in theater, went out to LA 7 years, did the acting thing, came back, started an acting studio in Columbus, Broadway, LA, and then do the motivational speaking. But it's such a great question. What are you unapologetic for? And when I think about life and when all of us look back on life, I'm like, the one thing I don't want to apologize for is regrets or things I wish I would have done. So I'm unapologetic for the life I've charted thus far.
I love that. I started the show because there were people who would say, aren't you apologetic for doing what you did or how you chose to live your life? And I'm like, well, am I somewhere bad? Like, so I think I love that all you guys kind of had the same story in the entrepreneurship and all you guys are so driven. And I think on the side of all of your businesses, I can't wait to see how each one of you grow. I really appreciate you guys sitting down and speaking with me. I want to thank our audience for tuning in for our live premiere. Again, this is Unapologetically Molly, and we want to encourage you to always live life authentically, intentionally, but most importantly, unapologetically.